The Hymn of the Pearl, also known as the Hymn of the Robe of Glory, one of the most elegant compositions of early Christianity, an early Christian folk tale, possibly written in the late 2nd century in the Gnostic milieu, though this tale was much older and was possibly told by Jesus Christ himself. When I was a little child, and dwelling in my kingdom, in my Father's house, and in the wealth and the glories of my nurturers, had my pleasure. From the east, our home, my parents, having equipped me, sent me forth, and of the wealth of our treasury, they had tied up for me a load. Large it was, yet light, so that I might bear it unaided. Bits missing. Gold of, bits missing, and silver of Gazak the Great, and rubies of India, and agate from the land of Cushan. And they girded me with adamant, which can crush iron. And they took off from me the bright robe, which in their love they had wrought for me, and my purple toga, which was measured and woven to my stature. And they made compact with me, and wrote it in my heart, that it should not be forgotten. If thou goest down into Egypt, and bringest the one pearl, which is in the midst of the sea, hard by the loud breathing serpent, then shalt thou put on thy bright robe, and thy toga, which is laid over it, and with thy brother, our next in rank, thou shalt be heir in our kingdom. I quitted the east, and went down there, being with me 2 messengers, for the way was dangerous and difficult, and I was young to tread it. I passed the borders of Mashan, the meeting place of the merchants of the east, and I reached the land of Babel, and I entered the walls of, it's missing. I went down into Egypt, and my companions parted from me. I betook me straight to the serpent. Hard by his dwelling I abode, waiting till he could slumber and sleep, and I could take my pearl from him. And when I was single and alone, a stranger to those with whom I dwelt, one of my race, a free-born man from among the Easterners, I beheld there a young, fair, and well-favoured, several bits missing, and he came and attached himself to me, and I made him my intimate, a comrade with whom I shared my merchandise. I warned him against the Egyptians, and against consorting with the unclean, and I put on a garb like theirs, lest they should insult me, because I had come from afar to take away the pearl, and lest they should arouse the serpent against me, But in some way or other, they perceived that I was not their countryman. So they dealt with me treacherously. Moreover, they gave me their food to eat. I forgot that I was a son of kings, and I served their king. And I forgot the pearl, for which my parents had sent me. And by reason of the burden of their bits missing, I lay in a deep sleep. But all those things that befell me, my parents perceived, and were grieved for me. And a proclamation was made in our kingdom, that all should speed to our gate. King and princes of Parthia, and all the nobles of the east. So they wove a plan on my behalf, that I might not be left in Egypt. And they wrote to me a letter, and every noble signed his name thereto. From thy father, the King of Kings, and thy mother, the mistress of the East, and from thy brother, our next in rank, to thee, our son, who art in Egypt, greeting. Up and arise from thy sleep, and listen to the words of our letter. Call to mind that thou art a son of kings. See the slavery, bits missing, whom thou servest. Remember the pearl, from which thou didst speed to Egypt. Think of thy bright robe, and remember thy glorious toga, which thou shalt put on as thine adornment. When thy name hath been read out in the list of the valiant, and with thy brother, our next in rank, thou shalt be king in our kingdom. And my letter was a letter which the king sealed with his right hand, to keep it from the wicked ones, the children of Babel, and from the savage demons of bits missing. It flew in the likeness of an eagle, the king of all birds. It flew and alighted beside me, and became all speech, and its voice and the sound of its rustling. I started and arose from my sleep. I took it up and kissed it, and loosed its seal, and read, and according to what was traced on my heart were the words of my letter written. I remembered that I was a son of kings, and my free soul longed for its natural state. I remembered the pearl, for which I had been sent to Egypt, and I began to charm him, the terrible, loud, breathing serpent. I hushed him to sleep, and lulled him to slumber. For my father's name I named over him, and the name of our next in rank, and of my mother, the Queen of the East. And I snatched away the pearl, and turned to go back to my father's house. And their filthy and unclean garb I stripped off, and left it in their country. And I took my way straight to come to the light of our home, the East, and my letter, my awakener, I found before me on the road, and as with its voice it had awakened me, so too, with its light, it was leading me, shown before me, with its form, and with its voice, and its guidance. It also encouraged me to speed, and with his love was drawing me on. I went forth, passed by. Bits missing. I left Babel on my left hand, and reached Mishan the Great, the heaven of the merchants that sitteth on the shore of the sea. Bits missing. And my bright robe, which I had stripped off, and the toga, wherein it was wrapped. From the height of Hyrcania, my parents sent thither by the hand of their treasurers, who in their faithfulness could be trusted therewith. And because I remembered not its fashion, for in my childhood I had left it in my father's house, on a sudden, as I faced it, the garment seemed to me like a mirror of myself. I saw it all in my whole self. Moreover, I faced my whole self in facing it. For we were two in distinction, and yet again one in one likeness. And the treasurers also, who brought it to me, I saw in like manner, that they were twain, yet one likeness. For one kingly sign was graven on them, of his hands, that restored to me my treasure and my wealth by means of them, my bright embroidered robe, which, bits missing, with glorious colours, with gold and with beryls, and rubies and agates, and sardonyxes, varied in colour. It also was made ready in its home on high, and with stones of adamant. All its seams were fastened, and the image of the King of Kings was depicted in full all over it, and like the sapphire stone also were its manifold hues. Again, I saw that all over it the motions of knowledge were stirring, and as if to speak, I saw it also making itself ready. I heard the sound of its tones, which it uttered to those who brought it down, saying, I, bits missing, whom they reared for him in the presence of my fathers. And I also perceived in myself that my stature was growing according to his labours, and in its kingly motions it was spreading itself out towards me, and in the hands of its givers it hastened that I might take it. And me too, my love urged on, that I should run to meet it and receive it. And I stretched forth and received it. With the beauty of its colours I adorned myself, and my toga of brilliant colours I cast around me in its whole breadth. I clothed myself therewith, and ascended to the gate of salutation and homage. I bowed my head and did homage to the majesty of my Father, who had sent it to me. For I had done his commandments, and he too had done what he promised. And at the gate of his princes I mingled with his nobles, for he rejoiced in me and received me, and I was with him in his kingdom, and with the voice, bits missing, all his servants glorify him. And he promised that also to the gate of the King of Kings I should speed with him, and bringing my gift and my pearl, I should appear with him before our King.